I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with the cattle market summary for the week ending March the 2nd, where these stockers really skyrocketed off this week. And even though it was started out the last week of February and it's still pretty frigid and brown and dead looking around, the moisture that was brought on by these last couple of storms up through the middle parts of the country and more leaning over into the eastern corn belt, the Ohio River Valley and places like that, that just spurred a little bit more activity, and guys are really scrambling trying to buy stockers. And stockers are hard to come by. Stocker is a thin-fleshed, kind of a calf weight yearling that has a compensatory gain, which means that there's a lot of potential there really right off the bat as soon as you turn it out. But kind of a hard-wintered thing, rough-haired and thinner fleshed, and got really more frame than it does weight to coincide with it. And a lot of times you have to go into the southeast to find these cattle. Kind of had a hard upbringing, but you see guys trying to create those kind of cattle by just kind of dry wintering them and giving them that rougher look. But you turn a fat calf out on the grass and it's not going to do much. Maybe walk the fences and bawl for a while and melt, 50 pounds or 75. But one of those thin stockers, he sees that first green blade of grass and he is going to it and just putting it on from then on, and really get a good gain out of them. But stockers are hard to come by. They're going to run out of them as we get closer into spring, and guys are just coughing them up just as fast as they can get their hands on them. But let's look at the board for last week. April live cattle, Monday was down 85 cents, Tuesday up a quarter, Wednesday down 97 cents, Thursday up a nickel, and Friday down $1.15 to end the week with April live cattle futures at 122.17. That was down $2.68 for the week. We lost February, of course, and now what we have to look forward to is June, which we've been looking at this for a long time, but June is sitting at 114.40. That's a big drop off. April feeder cattle, Monday was down 55, Tuesday up $1.25, Wednesday down 2.20, Thursday down a quarter, and Friday down 147 to end the week with April feeder cattle at 145.27, and that was down $3.23 for the week. You look at your spot March, which doesn't have a whole lot of play in it right now. It ended the week at 143.67, down 233. But look out there on the horizon there. Your fall feeder board is looking pretty fancy with August, September, and October over $1.50. And that's pretty good. Now, it doesn't surprise me with August because you got those green yearlings coming off grass there. They always sell really well. Hard to come by, kind of like these stockers are hard to come by now, which that relates. But you look at September and October when the calves start coming and surprisingly holding up there really strong. At your fat cattle trade, of course, if you watch this very often, you heard me harping on that. I was on my soapbox 2 or 3 times over the week with Kansas establishing the market $2 lower for the second week in a row on a Monday. Or early in the week like that, but this week it was on a Monday, and it just really took the starch out of the trade for the week. The rest of the 5 area guys that wanted to sell cattle negotiated were stuck holding the bag, but you got to give it to the guys up north. They stuck those heels in the ground and demanded more for their cattle. The trade was mostly 127 as a whole because they're not selling that many cattle negotiated in the Southern Plains. It was all 126, but more of the numbers come in at 127. In fact, through Thursday, on 81,000 head in the 5 area feeding district, your steers, the weighted average on live steer price was 126.80. So that gives you an idea how much 127 was out there, but still that market $1.50 to $2 lower. And the Northern Plains guys, which they got to negotiate their dress price, and they won't give any ground up. We're the 3rd week selling 204 and 205. Now it was mostly 204 this week, where it's been mostly 205, but still they're not willing to give any ground up. So that 204 to 205 and less than 15,000, it was hard to get guys to pay that dress trade price, because it figures back so much better than what the live price is. You figure that 204, if you can get a decent dress out of those cattle could bring back over $1.30. So the packers were real resistant to trade that, but your feeders would not give up. And the weighted average on dressed steers was 204.30, so there was some 205, but mostly 204, and that market was mostly steady to $1 lower. Box beef cutout values continued to surge. We didn't see as much of an increase this past week, but it continued to increase, which was kind of surprising, because we thought maybe it had topped out. But my gosh, there's such good demand for beef, and these cutout levels have risen. Your packers got close on their margins, and they just sent out new price lists there a couple weeks ago. And if any of these end users wanted some of that, they were going to have to pay up. And continue to this week, your choice cutouts. Now the average trade for the week, so that's not the high. This is where the bulk of them sold. 221.18. That was up $4.65 from the average trade of the previous week on choice cutouts. Now it was even better than that late in the week. On Friday, it was sitting at 222.50 for your afternoon trade. But select boxes, average trade for the week, $214.97, up $4.04. Now their Friday trade was actually lower than the bulk of sales, because starting to be a disparage again between choice and select. And you'd think it was grilling season the way guys are going out and buying this beef, but we got great beef demand. We have had for a long time. We're enjoying that. We've got good beef demand and cheap feed. You'd think we'd be able to make something work. But choice and select spread there on the average trade for the week at $6.21, starting to grow a little bit. Pretty decent slaughter. We had kind of a disappointing week the previous week, but this past week back up to speed, over 600,000 at 608,000 harvested for the week. That was up 36,000 from the previous week and up 18,000 from the same week a year ago. Your actual dressed steer weight plunged, which that's what a cold snap will do, and this actual information was from the week ending February the 17th, and you kind of remember what was going on through that week. But it dropped, your average dressed steer weight dropped 8 pounds to 881 pounds, and that's a pretty significant drop. But you look at your cattle on feed report, come out fairly bearish early in the week for feeders, and the industry paid more attention to it this time than they have in recent reports, and the analysts just cannot quite get those placements cranked up high enough and understand that with these bigger calf crops we've had the last 2 or 3 rounds, that there's just more cattle out there than what we've had for quite a while. But the largest February 1st inventory on feed since 2012, that's pretty significant. Your placements were 4.4% larger than last year. Texas was up 11% compared to last year, and your January placements was the largest since 2006. So we've got several cattle out there. But you look at your real-time index on Beef Market Central, based on the 800-pound steer, ended the week late Friday 144.53. That's down $3 even for the week, so that's a pretty significant drop when you figure that's a 7-day moving average of all the 700 to 899 pound steers up through the middle 12 states there. But your cash feeders in the sale barns across the country started out the week up through the mid part of the week mostly steady to $2 lower, not a big drop, but then it turned $3 to $5 lower after we saw that the rest of the feedlots had to cave in to that 126, 127 trade, and it really took some of the steam out of your feeder buying, and really that we're starting to run out of big feeding cattle. It's just the fact that the feedlots are so full right now. Your farmer feeders are starting to get full, and everybody is turning their attention to trying to buy some cattle to graze, and the grazing cattle so good. Your calves, lighter weight calves and just calves not long off the cow, been taken care of pretty good. They were steady to $3 higher. But your stocker cattle, like I was talking about early, and your little peewee calves weighing under 400 pounds were selling $5 to $8 higher through the week. And just Great demand for all those. You're also seeing your wheat guys. They just got through having to pull cattle off wheat because it played out, got so dry. You know, here in the Texas Panhandle, they've still not had any measurable moisture to speak of since August, and August was the wettest August in the history of the world as far as this part of the country. But you know, but I tell you what, they pulled those cattle off of there, and I had 2 tents here a week and a half, 10 days ago, and it's already starting to green up. But you get over into Oklahoma and up into Kansas where they had some of that moisture that come through and had a lot of it in places. And now those guys are going to need more cattle again. They couldn't make a crop out of that, but you know, a lot of your guys, if they have wheat and they got cattle, they're just going to graze it out. It's worth more to them to do that than it is to try to make a crop. And so you're going to have quite a bit of graze out wheat. It's just that you got to put another set of cattle together. So now you got your graze out wheat guys trying to assemble another bunch of cattle to turn out right on top of your guys that are getting an early start for grass. And it is really making big demand for grazing type cattle out there. Look at some individual quotes late in the week. Dunlap Livestock Auction in Dunlap, Iowa, a really good sale up there. 120 head of 911 pound steers bring 140 and a half. And didn't see much anything like that anywhere this week. Burwell, Nebraska, of course, they always blow the doors off the place. Just after lunch there, sold 120 head of 562 pound steers at $2.20. That's a bell ringer. But from a home DV auction office here in Canyon, Texas, that's a look at your week's markets. We'll talk to you next week.